Hi, I'm Ned Kehde. I'm here for fishingtheback.com, and we're going to talk a little bit about fishing the Midwest Finesse rigs, which I've been doing essentially since about 1960, which was started by a great Kansas City angler by the name of Chuck Woods. And we've done a lot of modifications over it from the years. Chuck was the guy that developed the first beetle and the beetle spin, and we have taken that and got a whole different arrangement of different baits that you can use. And it's very, very handy for anglers who are co-anglers and have to fish in the back of the boat. And we want to talk a little bit about how a angler in the back of the boat can really take advantage of this technique. Number one is that the angler in the back of the boat can fish a variety of different angles and have a variety of different retrieves. In fact, he can implement 6 different retrieves. And it's really important. Most anglers have a tendency to want to fish in front of the boat, and even the anglers in the back of the boat. But we have found over the years by fishing our Midwest Finesse rigs, actually one of the best angles is actually 45 degrees angle behind the boat, and you can make your cast short, make them about 30 to 25 feet. And then we make a cast, we allow the bait to fall, and a lot of times the initial fall, we'll just gently shake our rods by twitching our wrist. And as it falls, we let it go to the bottom. But we're going to implement what we call the swim, glide, and shake retrieve. We let the bait go to the bottom, and then we pick up, we usually keep the rod tip down. Especially in Kansas where we live, the wind blows quite regularly, and it's always best to have your rod tip down. If there's no wind, you can keep it up about the 2 o'clock position, or some people call it the 10 o'clock position. And we start reeling very slowly. We pause. As we reel it, it comes up off the bottom about 6 inches. And then as we make about 3 rotations of the reel handle, and we stop, and we let it glide back towards the bottom. Maybe for a 2-second glide, then we reel it another 3 times, the 3rd time. And then during the pause, when we stop it, we shake the rod, shake the rod just slightly. Sometimes the shake is more vigorous than others. Like in May, in the pre-spawn in April, we really like to create a lot of S curves in our line, and it's a pretty radical swaying in S's in our line from the rod tip to the water. And another technique we have is the drag and shake. We make that cast out, primarily either back of the boat or sometimes just perpendicular to the boat. Let the bait go to the bottom, shaking it as it goes. We let it go to the bottom, and we just drag it, either by reeling it or by the motion of the boat going forward. And as it goes, we shake, 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 shake. And occasionally, we punctuate that drag and shake with a complete dead stick. And to dead stick it, you have to actually give the bait a little bit of slack. Or you could open up your bail and let the line go out, and then you let it sit there for a count of 1, even sometimes as much as 5 seconds. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and after the 5 seconds, we shake, 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 and that's the drag and shake. Then we have a thing we call the hop and bounce. The hop and bounce was developed by Terry Bivens of Lebo, Kansas, and it is a great way to fish a jig bait when all we do is fish jigs and soft plastic. You make the cast, you let the bait to go to the bottom, you point the rod tip directly at the water at the 5 o'clock position, sometimes even lower. Sometimes you can get the rod tip actually into the water, and you make 2 rotations of the reel handle, stop. You watch your line, and when it goes slack, you make 2 more rotations. You watch your line go slack, and then you take 2 more rotations. When the line goes slack, make 2 more rotations. So that's the hop and bounce. And Terry Bivens is a master at it. It's a great tactic when the bass are feeding on the bottom on invertebrates or crayfish type invertebrates or insect larvae and things like that. It is really a great one. We also have what we call the straight swim. This was developed essentially by the great Charlie Brewer from Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, and it is essentially a do-nothing tactic. You make the cast out, you let the bait go to the depth you want to go, either on the bottom, or if you think of the fish are 2 feet from the bottom, you count it down. Say you're fishing in 10 feet of water, You want to fish 2 feet above the bottom, you count down to 8 feet, then you start reeling. It's just a straight, do nothing retrieve. Your rod tip is down, you're just reeling, and maybe occasionally make a pause to make sure, you can just check the depth, let it go back down to the bottom, count 1, 2, or 3, how far it's down, and if it's up to 3, you need to slow your pace down, and that's the straight swim step technique. And then we have just the basic drag, and this is a great tactic for the guys in the back of the boat. You just cast it out and you just drag it. You mainly cast it perpendicular to the bank. Throw out to the bank, just let it go to the bottom, and you just hold it there and drag it. Sometimes if the boat's not moving, you just reel it. Just nothing but just slowly drag it. And then if you're caught in the back of the boat with an angler who is parallel in the bank with a crankbait, and you don't have any room to fish, we do what we call the stroll. We just cast our bait in the back of the boat, and we let that guy, he's usually using a crankbait, and he's moving pretty fast, and we just let our jig and soft plastic bait just move as we're trolling. It's essentially trolling, and you can vary that by letting the line go off the spool of your reel. You can actually speed it up by adding a little bit of retrieve. You can shake it while you're doing it. I mean, you can dead stick it by just completely taking the line off the reel, and that's letting you sit there for a while. And it's really a dandy way. Actually, a couple years ago, I was doing an interview with Rick Clunn of the Bassmaster Circuit in Ava, Missouri, and he was telling me that he was paired years ago with a Japanese angler, and Rick was fishing a riprap dam, throwing a crankbait, and the Japanese angler was in the back of the boat doing the stroll. And Rick, I think, caught a few fish, and this Japanese angler in the back strolling a little Japanese finesse bait, I think had 10 fish, and it was just over top the same water that Rick was casting in the front of the boat with. So those are the basic retrieves that we do, and you can add different variations to them, but that's essentially it, and it'll work well. The real secret to it is not to make extremely long casts. The deal is with Midwest Finesse is you don't want to feel the bait. We use primarily 3 size jigs. A 3/32 is the biggest, a 16th is the primary one, and a 1/32. And I prefer using small hooks. Trout fishermen get by with using 12 to 22 size hooks, and they catch humongous trout on them. I use primarily a number 6 hook on the 1/32 ounce jig, a number 4 hook on the 1/16 ounce jig, and a number 2 hook on the 3/32 ounce jig, and it works well. And I always pinch the barbs back because our mission is to catch 25 fish an hour, and we rarely do it, but maybe 3 to 5 times a year we do that, and we try to. On average, we catch 10 to 11 fish an hour throughout the calendar year. And if you deal with that many fish, you don't want to harm them, and it's best to pinch the barbs down. You can quickly release it. You're going to lose a lot of fish jumping, especially at the time of the year we are now in the summer. We get a lot of fish that jump and jet zone the hook, but it's still, we're fishing for bites rather than catching. We're not fishing tournaments. We're out just to have fun. And we'd like to show you some of the baits we use right now. And the primary bait right now for Midwest Finesse fishing is what we call the 2.5-inch Zinker Z. This is made by Z-Man. The Zinker Z is a 5-inch bait. We cut it in half to make it 2.5 inches long. And you can use a lot of different jigs, but I use the Gopher Jig. It's a mushroom style head. This is a 16th ounce one. I painted this one chartreuse. And you can, this Zinker Z is a very durable bait. I've caught as many as 85 bass on a Zinker Z without having to return it around. And if I wear it on one side, as you can see, this one is getting worn out a little bit. I just turn it around and put it on this side, and I can usually catch 50 more on this side. So it's possible, to catch as many as 170 on the same bait. And this is the primary one. This essentially is the 2014 version of Chuck Woods' Beetle, and it's that's how we thought of it when we first got it. We said, oh, we're going to do another Beetle. And Z-Man Fishing Products from South Carolina makes this bait, and they're in the process of just this week, or next week actually, introducing a new bait, which we happen to have a prototype of. It's called the Real Deal. This is a 2 3/4 inch soft plastic bait. It's a Senko style bait or stick style bait, and it's not as heavily salted, and it has a little different configuration than the 2.5 inch Zinker Z. And it's just called the Real Deal, and it will be introduced next week at ICAST in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And it is a dynamite bait. Actually today we fished with this, and this, you can't even tell it's been used hardly, and it's probably caught 15 bass on it today, and a couple dozen green sunfish and a couple warmouth and a channel cat. So it's these things are extremely durable. This is the green pumpkin hue. In addition to that, we have about close to a dozen type baits, but I'm just going to show you a couple more that I favor and I use primarily. This is, besides the Zinker Z, or now the Real Deal, this is the Finesse Shad Z. The Finesse Shad Z is a shad-shaped worm essentially, and it is by far, it's probably in 2011, 2012, and 2013, and going now in the middle of 2014, it's probably caught more than half of the fish I've caught have been on the Finesse Shad Z. It's my favorite fish bait to use in the wintertime, and we catch fish on it when the water is as cold as 38 degrees. And in the wintertime, I prefer to use it on a 1/32 ounce jig with a number 4 hook. This one today, and this is July 11th, and I'm fishing it on a 1/16 ounce jig head, and this is the June bug hue, and I have a chartreuse head on it. And I think the best color that I use has been the green pumpkin one. Another bait and traditional bait that we use is the old-fashioned tube. This is a 2 3/4 inch tube. It's just a generic made one. That's the June bug hue. In Kansas, where I live in northeastern Kansas, June bug is a very effective color, and I rely a lot on June bug colors. And there'll be periods throughout the year when a tube will be extremely effective. And we did in May. We had a very good spell of it where it was our primary bait. It's kind of tapered off now, but there'll be about 4 weeks out of the year where it still is the bait it used to be. It's not the bait it once was for some reason, and maybe it's just because these other baits, like the Zinker Z, is a better bait, or maybe the Real Deal is about to be the better bait, and the Z-Man's Finesse Shad Z. But I always have one, not ready, but throughout the year I'll always be testing it. And for all these baits, we use the 5 retrieves I was telling you about. And then a 4-inch finesse worm. This happens to be Z-Man's 4-inch finesse worm. This is a 7-incher that I've cut down to be 4 inches long. It's a little buck. They also have what they call a 4-inch finesse worm Z, and this is the 7-inch one. And it and the Zinker Z and the Finesse Shad Z are the 3 primary baits that I use. And I primarily use this thing on a 16th ounce jig head. There will be a spell when I use it on a 1/32, and every once in a while I'll use it on a wacky rig type jig too. So essentially that gives you a synopsis of what we do and how we do it, and I hope it gives you some answers on how you can be a better co-angler in the back of the boat and catch a limit. In fact, let me tell you a little story. There's a guy named Fred Tackle Bland down in Alabama who created the very first shaky head jig. And there are a couple, and he's a wizard at it. And he fishes the Kusu River down there. And a couple guys on the Bassmaster circuit said, Taco, we want to pay your entry fees on the FLW circuit to pay a co-angler, and you give us part of your take at each tournament that you win, because they thought Taco could win them by using this finesse tactic, shaky head jigs in the back of the boat. And Taco was too old to do it, but he told me that. But he says, by fishing in the back of the boat, if you use finesse, you can really do very well indeed. So it's just another idea about how you can use finesse.